looking forward to, because there's so much going on, and I want to get your perspective on things like the development of communications and public access and all that stuff. And I'm really glad you can come in, and looking forward to this. It was good to see you last night, and it was good to see you on TV the other day with your Colors project. That's a work of high art, and welcome very much to Conversations. A pleasure for me, an old-time public access producer, to introduce to the program two dear friends of mine who are of a younger persuasion in terms of public access and communications, and that being on the far left, Jon Kowalski, and on my immediate left, Kirsten Stoffa. And they are producers here, Manhattan Neighborhood Network producers. They're both collaborating within the project called the Colors Project, which is, I'm here to say, achieves moments of very, 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 very high art often. And they work with Nate Conrad and so forth. And then they're also both in their own rights interested in developments of communication, cybernetic developments, all that sort of thing. And Jon, Kirsten, welcome very, very much. It's really a pleasure to welcome you both.
Thank you.
Why don't you both give us a little quick, you know how I start off this program, a little quick rundown, background, born, raised, education a little bit. Maybe you could kick it off, Jon, and then Kirsten, you could talk about it. And then we could talk some about public access television within the realm of communications in general, and then also some of the facts of the cyber part of what's happening as it begins to interrelate to the internet and so forth. But share your own background, where you're born and raised, that sort of thing, a little bit.
Harold, thank you. And I was born in Illinois, moved down to New Orleans when I was really young, about 3. And then I went to Jesuit High School, which is a good Catholic high school with priests and all boys and uniforms and all that stuff. And I got a Mac then, and then
when would that have been? What year would that have been?
I got a Mac around, like, I really got my own computer like 94. And then I got on the internet on AOL. That was the first place I got on the internet. I started doing chat rooms, and that was pretty cool.
And you took to it right away.
Yeah. And then before that, you know, you were doing Commodore 64 and like television and Nintendo. And then college came, went to Vanderbilt, studied computer science, mathematics, and that was a really enjoyable time. Spent 4 years there, and then I moved to New York to do theater and work some computer jobs, and then I discovered M&N, and that's where I really found my love.
So that's a very good, that you found your love.
Yeah.
I found my love at M&N, you know, Manhattan Neighborhood. That's really good. That's good. There's all kinds of questions come up and everything like that. But thank you for that. And how about you, Kirsten? Could you share yours in a thumbnail way like he did? And then we could talk and fill out some of the details of what's involved there.
Okay. Well, I went to high school and college in Texas. So I went to the University of Texas at Austin. My education's liberal arts all the way through University of Texas, and then I went on to graduate school at Tulane, which is what brought me to New Orleans, which is a strong connection that Jonathan and I have. We have shared living experience in New Orleans. So.
Oh, you knew each other in New Orleans?
No, but I think...
Oh, you lived in the same town.
I think the segue to M&N is really that I moved to New York after Hurricane Katrina, and then we, you know, ended up working on this television show here at M&N. And so it was almost immediately after the program that we started we started working on it in November, and I think we went on the air by January of 2006. So it was November 2005. Then we did our first show in January of 2006. So.
You got that archived already up on the YouTube, or up on the internet, not on YouTube.
We don't do YouTube.
You do YouTube.
Like
that's one of the things we can talk about, independent development, and you got your own server.
We'll put like 30 seconds or a minute of YouTube on there just to direct the traffic back to our website, thecolorsproject.com.
Okay, the Colors Project, and it's from Prudenia, I understand. You all are not really Earthlings. You're from a space station, or a realm in another universe called Prudenia.
I'm human, you know. I'm human. I was born in the world, but when the spirit possesses me from Prudenia, then that's when the whole thing shifts and turns into a whole nother.
Now the thing is, you're down here trying to learn how to communicate.
You interviewed Blue, right?
I've talked to Blue. That's right, and he laid it all out for me with Blue and everything. He turns himself blue. And you were what, inspired by Living Theater, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I enjoyed meeting Judith.
That's really good inspiration.
Yeah. Those shows are great, and those they started the environmental theater, breaking out of the fourth wall, like not worrying about the stage, like having audience members sit all around.
Yeah, our audience participation. Everybody's in on the act.
It was like a whole new thing, like back in the 50s. Like people didn't think of it. And now we're taking that, like, we're doing that on our show. It's like, it's reality to us. It's like we're not doing a theater show. We're living life, and we're having spirits that come to us. You know, so they're just. Seems like all the theater throughout time was building up to the point where theater became reality, and that's where we are now.
Yeah, it's living theater. Yeah, that kind of thing. You done things in Times Square like the living theater. They do that thing always. They do that thing not in my name when there's an execution, that kind of thing. They put on a play. It's a thing.
I heard about it when I was watching your show, and I was like, wow, that's great, because we were doing the same kind of like the same thing, and they took it to a whole nother level with scripting it out. Most of the stuff we do is just like life.
Spontaneous.
Yeah.
It is spontaneous. It really is. You don't know exactly what you're going to do when the cameras start rolling. You like that. It's like television. It's not even scripted.
As soon as we script it, it loses.
It's improvisation.
It's like not real anymore.
And I like to make a distinction between it being real and being theater. In my mind, it's still theater. It's improvised. It seems like if you set up an environment where you can experiment, then you can be in a safe environment where you're experimenting with improvisation, and then you can set up examples for other people to look at without actually having to go through the experience in real life. So for me, I mean, I'm just one of the 3 main producers on the project, but for me, there's a real distinction between theater and reality. I mean, and there's a purpose for theater. Theater is like to learn about life. It's to investigate life. So the synthesis of the two I like to be really careful about, only because it's my opinion that reality TV is extremely boring.
What is reality? I'm not sure. That's where they have the people thrown off the island or something, and they eat bugs or something.
It's just so boring.
I'm not very familiar with it, but it's apparently, they call it reality TV, but it doesn't seem reality to me.
It's not scripted. I mean, those scripted scenarios, but they put real people in there to interact and see how those real people act. And that's the beauty of the Colors Project, because we're real people. We're not actors. We are real people experiencing something, and we purvey it on TV. So I lost my train.
No, I understand. No, I understand exactly what she's saying too. Because for speaking for myself, my daughter's in theater. You're not met. You'll meet. But she had a thing up in Massachusetts, and they did it. It was 4 gals. They put together a program, and they had, a theater group called Sleeveless Theater, the Venus de Milo with and everything. And they put on, and they would put on shows. And it was as much as it possibly could be, it was improvised. They wanted to improvise. They liked Monty Python, and they were comedy-minded and everything like that. And by the time they finished up, they went about 6-7 years as a group, and then they broke up and whatnot. But then by the time they did, I went to the last show, and they had a huge auditorium full of people in a local gathering they had. But they were moving toward improvisation as a way, I guess, of presenting things. But they were also geared into real life situations and maybe a theme or something like that. They have what's my line, what is my line, or whose line is it on television, that kind of thing. And I don't know, as for myself, as far as theater, I just think as I walk around, I see theater every day when I'm walking around. I see Academy Award performances. I swear to God, just riding on the subway or something, or somebody who's walking down, or a normal person in life, they're just so... I get in trouble with my daughter talking like that because she thinks I'm a Philistine, when I think that life is more exciting than anything you can conjure on the stage. And I'm probably wrong. I know it's an art form, but...
Well, I did often hear it said in New Orleans that there wasn't a lot of theater in New Orleans because the streets were a stage.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
But, you know...
And you can project that out for the world now. A lot of people think, well, with the politics...
To be dramatic is to... I guess the distinction is if you're not on a stage, you're not on a stage. If you're on a stage, you're on a stage.
I had a friend, if I may reminisce a little bit, I had a friend, I've been doing this television for so long, and we used to go and do programs of remote when there was no MNN or anything like that. We would do it with people, and I had a fellow who used to go with me, and his name is John McKenna. And he was just absolutely the most incredible actor I've ever in all my life met. And he was of the opinion that life was just too dull. And that whenever he went into a situation, he had to enhance it. You know, he had to enhance it. And he would be like, everywhere we went, it was like, it was never enter the room, it was enter stage left. And everybody was there was just into his play. And he thought it was like Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage. He did it literally, and he was the best actor I've ever in all my life met. He was dangerously adept at dealing with other people in a theatrical kind of way, enhancing the reality. I don't know. We're just talking about theater, that sort of thing. I wonder if we come back to a thing. You said you studied computer science and mathematics. How did you happen to get into computer science and mathematics, if I could?
don't know.
And then it's a big jump in many people's mind from computer science, mathematics to theater.
Yeah.
You know, you're going between science and you're going over into, you know, the humanities, that kind of thing. You've been all over the lot in terms of your interests, right?
Well, my coming from New Orleans, and my dad was a Dixieland musician, and
He was a what?
Dixieland tuba player.
Oh, was he? Really?
Pianist.
Tuba?
Yeah.
That's
For the Dukes of Dixieland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's like good music, and I remember going on Bourbon Street when I was a kid and watching that stuff, and he'd write musicals, and my mom was always a singer, so that was
Really?
always there. I discovered the computers kind of independently, just by, I don't know how it fell in there, but I always liked math, and then it just really made sense logically. So I just kind of, I always wanted to move to New York, but I knew if I moved to New York without any like training in another field, that it would be difficult to continue.
Make a way, yeah. Yeah.
So I focused on getting a degree and understanding the concepts of computers so that I could then generate some money while focusing on the performing arts.
Also, you probably saw it as something that was coming,
Yeah.
even in your turn, because you were coming in at an early stage, and now you're living in a field where the thing changes so rapidly. Everything is changing so rapidly and so forth, but you learn that. Did you used to go march in those bands and march down the street and strut and that kind of stuff and everything?
During Mardi Gras? I
Yeah,
was never
or
in
whatever.
In a band. I played clarinet and stuff, but
You did?
Yeah.
Seriously?
just for a few years in like grammar school. But I never really got into an instrument. It was always difficult. I always gravitated towards the computer in those moments.
You also, dear? Were you? I know you're a web designer, and so were you into computers early and everything, even though you had a much more wide net, apparently? You were liberal arts.
I remember being a little kid and the telephone lines being tied up because my father was dialing into the Cray.
Oh,
and this
wow.
is probably
A Cray,
1981 or
a
something.
supercomputer.
There were always computers in my house, and I was always really interested in them, and I started, my way into learning about them was to kind of assemble them, you know. I would take them apart and assemble them.
Like a Heath kit? Do you remember Heath kits, or is that before
No,
your time?
it might have been before my
Yeah,
time.
that
These were IBMs. And that's what, you know, I first started. They looked like Legos to me, and I learned about that stuff with I guess other kids were learning how to repair cars. I was learning how to assemble computers. And I guess it seemed natural to me. Like, I was word processing from the age of 6, so
6.
type on the keyboard.
Yeah,
and, you know?
yeah, right. It's like you just sort of learned it osmosis almost.
So it just feels like language. It feels natural. I know that's a unique situation. I know that's not the situation of everyone.
It's certainly not it's certainly a unique situation in terms of my age set, because we didn't have anything that we had to program.
Right.
You realize that's a big genetic or a
well,
big
I don't
jump.
even program. You know, like I said, I have a liberal arts education. And,
right.
I just found, I think probably in the first semester of graduate school, that I wanted to make things, visual things, work with my hands more, and really at the same time that I became interested in the web, I picked up a video camera. So it was a very simultaneous thing for me. It was 2 tools that I just acquired.
That would have been around what year were you doing that? You could put a year on it.
This year was 1995.
95, okay. And I heard you say your dad was dialing into a Cray.
Well, that's was years before. So that's a visual impression that I had as a child.
A Cray is a supercomputer, so he must have been involved with very large-scale computing efforts that were going on in terms of his work or something.
Right, right.
So so he would have had some knowledge of that, because that's a supercomputer, was it not?
Yes. Well, also I used to get sheets of C code that I was supposed to transcribe for him.
Really? What is C code?
It's a programming language that I never learned.
Okay.
And he would ask me to transcribe it for like 5 cents a line or a penny a line.
Was that a good
deal?
But
you know, you would think that I would have learned to be a great programmer as a result, but I just ended up reading and becoming interested in sociology and anthropology, and then later I started using I used a computer more as a tool. like a printing press, you know, and so it's no mistake that I ended up forming a web company.
Right.
Because, you know, I realized that I could translate people's images for their businesses into an online environment.
Do you see a distinction between the world of cyber or computer and television? We're on cable television, Manhattan Network here. You're fellow producers here in Manhattan. So there's, you know, if cable television, that's something came along. There weren't any computers when the cable first came. There weren't any real serious computers because they came about 69, 70 started moving. But they sort of grew together. But do you see a distinction between the two and what the significance of the difference between cable television delivery or production and then the implications of the computer? Can you address that, or how do you see it?
The difference between the two, between the internet and cable?
Well, all right, the internet and the computer and the PC, which came along, I guess, after about 1980 or so, and everything it's developed, and now it's becoming so ubiquitous everywhere in the world. It came out of the blue. We just aired a program last week with Bruce Gilchrist. He was there at the beginning of the first computer back in 1950. With John Van Neumann and everything. Nobody knew this thing was coming. But there was like television and there was cable television coming. And
seems like the only difference between the two is the cable is like a push technology.
Okay, go on.
They're sending you data and you're receiving it. You're not interacting with it very much. They're feeding you data. With the computer, the advent of the computer and the protocols used to communicate, it lets you talk back and forth. So you can get a stream, and then it can give you a few options, and then you can choose which option you want, and then get other data. But it's all pushing data, you know. It's all pushing out information, and it's all coming to you. So it's the same in that way, but with the internet, you have more the ability to communicate, interact with it.
It's pull.
Push and pull.
Push and pull.
Yeah. And so you're cyber. There was. I guess you're kind of bridging over from kids that are like 10 now or something. They were just born into a cyber world and they pick it up and everything like that. But things seem to be moving more and more toward the internet, don't you think? I mean, a good deal of communication and so forth. We have these traditional systems of over-the-air television and then cable and everything, but now things are moving toward the internet. Has implications for public access and other forms of communication.
And they're going to merge too, because there's this new program. My friend, I do IT work.
Yeah.
And there's a program called Joost, Joost, and it's pretty impressive. It's just like I can load it up on this computer right now.
Sure, we have a computer here that he can call up, and he's got to get off to the right of him so the image can come up on the screen.
And it's called Joost, and it's like it's pretty much like a TV. It's like on demand. It's loading right now.
It's loading. Okay, he's doing that now. Okay, there it is. What is that? Can you describe it, John? What you're doing?
This right here, this program, it's like pretty much a brand new program. It's beta, and the cool thing about it is it is TV. It's like on, you know, when you get your on-demand TV on Time Warner. It's the same thing. It's like you're getting on-demand video signals from the internet.
That's a degree of interaction or call-up by the person. That's one step.
True. The way that they got the digital cable going is that it's digital cable now, so that you can interact with it. You can kind of like request streams, and they'll send you the data out.
Yeah. Or you can get a boxing match or something like that, and there's a market-driven thing like that. So what you're doing is trying to call up Joost now?
Yeah, but this wireless is a little slow. So we'll see what happens.
The wireless is a little slow,
we might be able to come back to it.
So these things are blending, right?
They're blending, yeah. There's going to be no distinction in the future. Like there's the only difference about the cable is that it seems that like all the streams are really well programmed. Like there's a lot of people out there that are really like putting together the content and packaging it and creating like a timeline and schedule. And it gives it a little more quality that way. You know, you go to YouTube and you get everything, and it's hard to find out like the best quality stuff. You can only go by like what people like the most.
It's being done by pros.
Yes.
So you have these cable, and it used to be. I can remember, children. I can remember back when there was no television. It's hard to imagine there was no television. I can remember coming home from school when I was about 6 years old or something. And they had a program called on the radio. We had radio, and it was called Jack Armstrong, the All-American Boy. And they had soap operas in the afternoon too. They had one called Portia Faces Life, and they had one called Just Plain Bill. That was for the women who mostly were staying home and everything. But I had heard at school that Jack Armstrong, there was a venture on the radio, and Jack Armstrong was bouncing around on the backs of alligators in a jungle somewhere. And I had heard that it's going to be possible for you to actually see Jack Armstrong jumping on the alligators with this thing that they called television.
Well,
right?
so you heard that on the radio?
I heard it on the radio, and I was envisioning, wow, would it be something else? Now they've got about 1,000 channels that are programmed by professionals.
This is it right here.
Okay, what
Look.
have you got now? You
we
got
got
it
if
up?
we go to the computer, you'll see.
Can we bring it up on the computer, the Joss?
This is National Geographic, you know. This is like, and look, they got MTV. You got all these channels.
Uh-huh.
You click on the channels. You can go like Warner Brother Records, Comedy Central, CNN. You just like go look what you want to look at.
What do you mean? And you can call up that programming
yeah,
on your
right
computer?
away. And they'll throw in little ads in there, little stuff.
Go ahead, demonstrate it. Do
Let's
it. If you
do
can do
one.
it, you're doing it right in real time now, right?
Yeah, let's just
Okay.
do Welcome to Juiced, you know.
Okay.
But they got content from all the big networks.
Uh-huh.
And this is like the beginning of something new, you know.
And
it's
this-
a little bit,
yeah.
you know.
Go ahead, yeah, by all means.
Kirsten said the other day, she's like,
Jonathan,
now it's going to make computers stupid again.
Yeah, the computer will be stupid again. That's my opinion. Of course,
Okay.
you know, I hate to be the pessimist,
Okay.
but basically this is another web TV. We might be ready for it now.
Uh-huh.
I'm certain that all the people that provide cable programming
Yeah.
are getting together and realizing that the majority of their potential audience now is online. So they're trying to provide them with something that's pre-packaged so they can make sure to get the advertising in there. I don't know. Maybe there's a possibility it will fail again, which would, like Web TV sort of failed.
Web TV did fail.
Yeah, so
Okay.
maybe it will. Maybe
I don't think it just was, it was premature. The bandwidth wasn't there. The people didn't have the computers. People didn't have DSL in their houses. It's all there. It's not going to go away.
No.
It's just going to keep growing.
And I
But
think
it
it's,
turns the
no.
computer into a television. I don't mean to cut you off. I just
Not at
the
all.
idea of turning the computer into a television, to me, what I'm wondering, and you know, the way that I'm currently trying to push my mind,
Yeah.
you know, is to integrate video into design.
Okay.
So instead of reverting back to the old way of pure television programming, why aren't we combining graphical layout
Uh-huh.
and video and designing fluidly with the two of them so that we don't lose the pull media environment and we integrate the video capabilities that we now have? Because of course,
By we, you mean perhaps the people as opposed to pros, or is that a
well, I'm
distinction that's to be
speaking
made?
from my perspective as someone who's making media
Yeah,
and making websites.
Uh-huh.
However, in a pull media environment,
Mm-hmm.
at least it appears that the option is still available to the people to create that media themselves.
There
When I
was-
see this
oh.
packaging,
Yeah.
it looks like it cuts out the potential for people to create the programming themselves.
Well, why
Or
not-
just
okay.
all those names, all
Okay.
those brands, like all those big companies
Yeah.
remind me of companies that are sort of closed to people and just a structure that I was hoping that we'd move away from, you know,
Well,
in my idealistic youth.
I can
mean,
understand that. Idealistic user, idealistic pleasure.
So-
You've got some
so-
more going here on Juice. You want to show that, John, or you want to go to the computer thing now?
I don't know what it is. I just grabbed something, but this looks like some fish
Shark.
videos.
This is.
I think it might be National
I
Geographic.
just
or something.
saw a program last night on PBS. It was PBS, and it was a thing with birds. It was staggeringly gorgeous, and how they had the geese flying, and they're flying, and it was so beautifully done. And how the world they got those pictures, I don't know, but they were just absolutely engrossing. Couldn't take my eye off the screen. It was beautifully done. And so the thing is that we could do that, but you got a difference between pull and push, and you got a thing about that you have some people who are going to create professional quality stuff.
And the
Now,
profession.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
They
What do we
got-
mean by that, first of all? And can the people be can the people in the world in general, I
All
mean,
this
like
stuff-
public access is supposed to be open to the people, like Hyde Park Corner, not just the pros, or not just the commercial interest, but the people have things to say and to do and so forth. And so you can bring the people in on creating this new media, multimedia communication, which is becoming more and more important all the time, rather than just leaving it up to the public relations or advertising firms that make very flat, high production value things and everything, the pros. And that's part of what public access mission is to make it available to everybody in a sense. And so that's a different kind of thing than just watching what professionals are putting on your TV screen, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Is that one of the things that made MNN seem a major thing to you and to you, Jon?
The ability to have these resources here at MNN is great. The internet and the cable on is all packaged. It's so nice. They're all professionals. You know, everybody's doing. And the reason why there was only cable at one time is because the equipment was so expensive. Mm-hmm. And now all the equipment's getting a lot cheaper. And it's like people, like we're making videos that we're posting on the internet that are pretty professional at this point.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The people
we can get
can
professional
start
now.
making.
We can, if we organize, we can really package things really well, and we can compete with cable.
I wonder, maybe we can compete. I personally, it's my opinion that for thinking about things in a large way, anthropologically or otherwise, I think that there are problems that you always have to amortize old technologies or old systems that are in place that have been in a certain sense outdated by the new. And people have to amortize that from a business model they have, or there's a lag between technologically or in terms of our capability that we have in an abstract sense and what the market or the traditional values and the institutions we've inherited.
Right.
So it's outdated in a sense.
These are two separate concepts. It's what is cutting edge technologically versus what has become, you know, possible to do in a business environment versus what is possible for the people to do. There's like three tiers of the...
Three? You see three, huh?
I see three. Like there's the people, there's the scientists who are working on the cutting edge technology.
And the labs,
In the labs. And they're developing new cool things. And then there's the business people who have a huge amount of resources. And then after that, there's what we get handed if we're going to look at ourselves as just the masses and the people, the consumers, right? So, you know, where you blur I'm extremely interested in where the lines blur between business and the people, and what we, if I'm looking at I am a media professional, but if I look at myself. One of the reasons, okay, let me just start with why I was drawn to MNN, because you're given access to really amazing studio equipment, amazing cameras, and coming from New Orleans, which is a really resource-poor city, I was overwhelmed in Manhattan to see that I could work in a studio which would give me, having been working prior to coming here for 10 years in film and video, and then being able to walk into a studio and produce a high-quality television program, to me seemed like an amazing opportunity to express my opinions and be able to do it regularly.
And why don't we talk just straight turkey in a way that you sense, in a sense that I've been doing this a long time.
That's
sorry.
No, I know. It's just that's putting some power in the hands of the people, and it's a unique circumstance. And you and I have discussed that before, because there's an agreement where. Because the cable companies tear up the streets and they compromise public life, they have to give something back, and what to the public, and what they give back is this opportunity to create your own media. Now, what I'd really like to talk about, and what I think is really important, is the fact that cable companies and they both put on television programming as well as provide internet access.
And telephone now,
so this institution that we're actually sitting in right here doesn't just represent television programming, it also represents the internet. And so this institution, in my mind, I would advocate that it look forward and evolve here, MNN, evolve in the sense of being able to incorporate computers and networking and that kind of technology into putting that into the hands of the people
the hands of the people.
Because these cable companies don't just represent television anymore, they represent the internet. So what I would propose really singularly is that MNN come up with a model to create something that would be akin to what we now know as YouTube. So that not only do you come in here and put together a program with such amazing lights and such amazing camera technology, you know, the latest cameras, the latest studio equipment, and the latest lights, which
Editing
is wonderful,
systems,
and
yeah.
editing
Yeah.
systems, and all these wonderful opportunities. But then, at the end of your program, you have the opportunity to compress and upload your video to a server.
It could just happen
at
automatically. It could have
MNN.
all been connected as a system. It
And
could all just happen.
what an amazing opportunity this would be, because it occurred to me in thinking about this, that this would be not just, you know, MNN keeping up with the times, but it would be presenting a new kind of library, essentially.
Absolutely.
YouTube is private, you know, and Google and YouTube, this is a private company, but nobody has yet come up with a modern public institution which archives the programming of the people.
We haven't been able to have.
But there's a real opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a question of setting up servers, teaching people how to compress video. It's not complicated. We have all the tools. There's the major cost, and Jonathan could probably speak really eloquently here, would be to build a server room. And then beyond that, to get, you know, the compression, to get onto, which is the compression company that I'm aware of, to come in and install a content management system so that we could upload all of the videos. But how many servers, what, you know, can you briefly tell us what you think it would take to be able to upload programming at the end of?
I don't think you need any company to come in, but...
Well, I've just heard that Onto has a great content management system for video upload, but, you know,
there's
you could do
software packages out there for less than $100. You saw it on a Linux server, and you can upload your video files just like YouTube, and it'll automatically convert. And you can have your own account, and you can have people, you can share it, you can vote on it, all those things. It's like there, it's really cheap, it's all open source software. This is software that academics, people that are just interested in the ideas of computers, they build software for free, and they give it out. And then most companies will come along, and then they'll repackage it, and then they'll sell it again, and then they'll sell the services that they're providing, which is pretty much what YouTube did. I mean, what YouTube built isn't anything that can't be built by another company, and there's other companies out there that are doing it too. And there's no reason why a governmental organization or like a public service organization can't do that also right now. And it's just a matter of getting some servers. MNN's got lots of bandwidth. They got it. They're hooked up because Time Warner gives them the bandwidth at a discount price. So they got like a big chunk of bandwidth. They got you just need like a few servers, and when it comes down to servers, it's like, okay, you need one server to, it's depending on how much people or how many people are doing it. You know, you just keep clustering the servers as you get bigger and bigger. But I mean, we could start with one server to store the videos and one server to convert it right now. And I can envision, you don't have to teach anybody how to compress. All we need is you get a deck, you plug the deck into the computer, you hit play on the deck. You don't set anything. You hit play on the deck, it plays into the deck right through a video card in the computer, and automatically it converts into a flash file. And then you can just put it on the server and then just have it link.
Okay, I wonder, that's all interesting. It's really interesting. That's looking ahead. It's looking ahead.
Just symbolically, it represents a potential to be a library, a modern library, a new kind of library.
I would like to flash back over time a little bit like that, and because I've been in this a long time. And it used to be when you'd come here, just talking very basically, right? If you wanted to do a program like you do here, because they had this arrangement set up with public access, a 501c3 and so forth, and they get some support through the cable subscriber base, through the companies, you know, the mayor negotiates time, so that they can do it and they can provide it for you free here. So you can come here and make a program that would have minimally been something like $500 for you to make a program. If you wanted to go out in the market, what was available, low end, something like that, it would be about $500 to make a program. So that meant that was making a nut. You would have to do it. But now you've made it available to all the people in Manhattan. They can come here and they can make a program, and it does not have to cost them anything because there's an institutional layer that makes it possible to make programming for free. Now that's different than anything we've had. The first time I've ever heard the term server, it's got to have been no more than about 5 years ago I ever heard of such a thing as a server. I did a program last week with Bruce Gilchrist, and computer, do you know what computer the word comes from?
Yeah, you told me yesterday.
I told you yesterday as it happens, but there was no such thing as a computer. So you're talking it's easy to do now, but those things have not been available. It's because of the technological development that's going, that these new things are becoming available that's not been available in the past, and it's bringing the two together in a responsible way. That's one of the big challenges, don't you think? Something like that. But cable television, public access, provided it for the people so that they did not have to be a business thing where you have to go out and pay a lot of money to do it, to make a program and like that. So it had to be, it could be done free, and it could be open to all the people. So that's a different kind of proposition than one where it's just professionals doing a business plan to make a thing that's going to pay for itself.
It's likely, it seems to me, if you come here to make a television program, that you may not have a computer at home, and you may not be able to compress your program and get it online.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
So it seems like the natural extension being that there is this merge between television and the internet occurring right now.
To the great good advantage of all.
Right, would be to get this programming into an online environment as well. So that I know that when I come in here and produce something, that I can then tell people to go to their nearest public library and check it out online, because MNN has put it online.
Okay, so what you're saying is that so you got public access in San Francisco, you got it in Portland, Oregon, you've got it in Berlin, in Germany, you got it all over the world, you got people all over the world. The labs are coming out, they're moving toward terabyte computers now. Terabyte. And they're going down into carbon 60. And every year it doubles. It's just coming in tremendous, I mean, just coming out of the labs. The capability is coming so quickly now that you're going to have, are we going to end up having a planet of 6 billion television stations? Or 6 billion, all people have access to the ability to communicate their ideas and thoughts and so forth in a way to the whole rest of the whole world? And where is it heading if we think 5, 10, 20 years out? And how do we make the transition from the historical past to the transition now as we begin to look ahead as producers at MNN specifically? One aspect of the cable access facility that's here now that makes it possible and open to these new possibilities that the cyber world is putting before us, and could be better understood by you than perhaps some of us who are more mired in the past.
The future. You're asking what does the future look like?
Yeah.
How do we get everyone to work together?
If I say one more thing, if I may?
It's a good question.
If I say one more thing, I think there are larger issues. It gets to be political or something like that. Buckminster Fuller, who was a comprehensive thinker and so forth, he used to say we need a operating manual for spaceship Earth. We live on a spaceship, and we're coming into a new incredible time in terms of the evolution of understanding, and we have systems that we've inherited out of history: political, economic, organized, sociological, memes, cultural memes, things we've inherited out of history that seems to be is being transformed. The environmental whole is being transformed, and it's creating a new opportunity that's not been characteristic of the past. But they say the leaders drive fiercely into the future with their eye fixed firmly on the rearview mirror, because they've got a lot that they have to deal with coming out of history. So it's a period of transition, and we have weapon systems that can destroy the whole species now. And they're juggling weapon systems now in their planning and their modeling that can destroy the whole species.
That's true.
So it's a particularly crucial time in a transition. On the other hand, we have a capability that could provide incredible communication capability to all the people of the world, perhaps within a new paradigm or within a new understanding of what the reality allows, which hasn't been characteristic of the past.
It seems like
you understand,
but you
these
will
are
need
things,
community
and
centers.
if the ideas are going to come, it's going to come out of public
well,
access.
Right, because while I'm listening to you, and I agree with you, the potential is amazing. However, the resources are not evenly distributed amongst people.
Hardly at all.
At all. I mean, I think it was you actually who one time told me that wealth is controlled by the top 1/100th of a percentile.
Well, the growth,
but
Paul Krugman writes on this better.
99% of the wealth controlled by 1/100th
well,
of a
the growth
percentage
in the
of
last
the
3 or 4
population.
years, he wrote a thing that the real growth, and beyond inflation, everything didn't even go to the upper 1% or the upper 1/10 of 1%. There was some growth there in the upper 1/10 of 1% of the American population, but the real growth went to the upper 100th of 1%. It's very
So,
concentrated because they have ownership of all the traditional ways in which they've dealt with the scarcity situation. We need a new economic model that includes everybody.
We need
and
a lot of...
there has to be a place where those ideas can
There
surface. And they'll come in public access before they come in any of the professional
In terms of social institutions
systems.
And social systems, there's a lot of technological innovation that's needed. And I guess I would say that public access represents an opportunity to model
Absolutely.
a great social system.
Very much so,
Since
yeah.
the resources aren't evenly distributed amongst people.
On the planet, you mean?
This is a community center, on the planet
Yeah.
in general. This is a community center where people can come together and they can communicate with the whole world, okay? This is one opportunity.
That's only been for a few years we've been able to do that here. So
Right.
we've only been able to stream dependably for the last 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Couldn't do it in the past. I mean, just keep that in mind, that's all. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah.
So
And it's opening up greater potentiality all the time as we look ahead.
right.
Okay.
So I guess the next step that I could immediately think of would be to get the cable access producers in communication, at least one with another,
All right.
you know.
Well, you're both
So-
members of ACAP.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a good idea to have the organization of the producers begin to get together and so forth.
It'd
And that's
be
something that's
interesting.
worthwhile
It'd be
thinking
interesting
about.
even to call a meeting with producers and run the idea past them of getting programming compressed and put online.
Okay, that's something you're thinking of as something that's there before us
'Cause
as you see it.
asked me to visualize the future.
Right, right. What do you
That's
think
one
about
idea.
that, John? This idea she's got about putting things on. And what is a server? It's like a computer, or it's a processing system or something like that? Forgive my ignorance. I just don't know.
Two questions there. First, we're talking about the community centers, social systems. M&N, public access, great system. Before I
Absolutely.
knew about public access, really, like my brother and I would conceive of like an art space where anybody can go and they can like make a video and get a DVD right off after they made their video and like do some poetry jams or play some music or like go in these spaces that are like all around the world. They're all connected with the internet.
Right.
They're all interacting with video projections, and you can like communicate with the person in Berlin at the same time. Like that's what public access will be.
That's what it's moving toward.
As
Yeah, it's
soon as
happening
we
in
get
other
the
parts of the
internet
world.
part
Yeah.
going.
Okay, talk.
We got the cable part going. We're locally connected. No problem there. We got the internet coming in. We're doing live streams right now. Live's easy because it's like you process the data and you throw it away. We're not archiving that data. The next step is the on-demand, creating the library, building up that library, and like, and getting all the cable access centers throughout the world united into a common, like an ACAP, like getting everybody under one one umbrella.
Or if I may, the Alliance for Community Media, which is an alliance of all the public access facilities around the country. Okay? They got an alliance for that. They're there, and they're coming into new franchising time and everything for this entity, this institutional structure that makes it possible. It makes it possible for you to do programming that is not a business.
And they need that user
proposition.
manual of how to operate this public social station where people can come and express themselves, have free speech, and not
The
just
people,
all the people for
all
free.
The people. Open
and
the people.
ideally,
Wait a minute, all the people for free. That's something that's never been possible.
it's not possible.
But it is
And
possible now
even-
as we look ahead, just over the horizon.
And
yeah.
eventually, all these public stations, these access centers, they're going to go away. And what's going to take the place of that is every single person will have a laptop or some way to connect to the system.
I don't-
It'll be with them. There'll still be, you can go to a community
The
center,
community center, I
and
think, is
like
essential.
and merge.
Well, it certainly is in a shorter
But
term.
you can
it's
also have
essential.
virtual community centers where people merge together on the internet. Like the building is important now because we haven't built the structure yet. But as soon as we get that internet going and everybody can come and make their videos and express themselves and archive it and it's on demand, you can get to it. It's going to open up this, and these new ideas are going to come out of nowhere. Like ideas right now are built off of corporations and like bureaucracy, and like takes like lots of time to get all the things together. But if the energy is flowing free, without constraints, without repression, without rules that are like the basic morality, we have to be moral people. but without the rules saying you can't do this because I have an interest in this other company.
Yeah.
Once that's eliminated, the ideas are going to go so quick, and we're all going to be united into this like one common mindset.
It may be that when we get weapon systems that can destroy the system, I mean that we didn't have that in the Second World War. We didn't have that systems that could destroy the whole species, and that could be modeled. I don't know if that's really true. There might be a couple of survivors
what's a
in
server?
the beginning.
What's a server?
Yes, sorry, I was
Second question. A server is it's real easy. What is a server? What's a server at a restaurant? A server comes and brings you food.
Yeah.
Same thing. Your server comes and brings you videos. When you request it, it comes to you. That's all a server does.
It's an extension of a computing capability?
It's just another computer.
Bandwidth? Is it bandwidth?
Bandwidth is the medium to translate the data. The server is a box in some room that nobody really sits in front of unless it's broken, and all it does is hand out information to people that request it.
It's an extension of a computer.
It is a computer.
Okay, why is it needed if you had a computer that was 100 times as powerful as the computer now? Then you wouldn't need a server because the computer would have all the power it would need? Is it like a battery connection or an enhanced strength?
Your
that
computer
the computer
at home can be a server if you turned it in. If you decided that I wanted people to grab data directly from me.
Did they used to have a term slave? They have a slave system, or was that into video?
You're thinking of hard drives.
Okay.
There's ways. That's
well, I don't know the computer. I just don't know.
Because in hard drives, if you had an array of hard drives, you'd have the master hard drive and you'd have the slave, but I was maybe it's easier to think of a server as a computer with specialized processing.
Okay.
So every time, and here's another metaphor that might help, every time I get online, it's like dialing a telephone into a server to ask for a page. And it says, oh, I got a telephone call and they asked me for this HTML page. And that server then sends you the HTML page. So that's a really simple way of visualizing what a server does.
I see. It's like a switcher, like telephone switching system.
Yeah, you call it and it sends you information.
Those things are autonomic.
So it does two things. Not only can it send you information every time you make a telephone call to it, but it also stores data. So it stores a lot of data. And so when we're suggesting building a video server, we're saying, you'll call and you'll get video information sent to you. So these servers would have to have a lot of storage capacity because we all know that video data is a little bit larger.
Those files, those AVI files are huge. They're gigabytes.
Files,
yeah. But I heard the person talking to me the other day, Mr. Gilchrist, who was in at the ground floor at the beginning. He said they're now talking about, and I just threw it away. They're talking about terabyte computers. Terabyte.
Yeah, lots of space.
Now do we get to the point where the computer, and every year the Moore's law is exceeded. It doubles and doubles and is going faster. And when they get to carbon, they're going down to carbon 60 to where they're going to be molecular computing, and it's getting smaller and smaller and more powerful with each year as we go along. There's more and more capability coming all the time, almost to where there's going to be a surplus in a way that we just have not ever had in the past.
Well, all of this visualization is really interesting. I might like to bring the conversation around to the people again.
Okay, good.
And the folk, and the idea of I hope I don't want to sound critical, but there's a tendency in America right now for us to have similar things from one town to another because a major corporation has so much control over things, that they can the strip malls, they can blueprint the exact thing, and what this is doing is it's sort of limiting diversity from town to town. And I think that an M&N poses a real opportunity to give a voice to people from town to town and let some of those cultural forms emerge in a way where they get expressed and promoted around the world. And I think this would be particularly appreciated in an online environment because there's a tendency for people who are interested in learning about culture to be the type of people who might be doing research. And so if they know they could access it from a very small town, maybe Grand Rapids, Michigan cable company, something that, they know that there's an archive of programming that really paints a picture of what it's like in Grand Rapids.
And they want to know about it.
And they can look online, and there it is. That's just another possibility of why it might be important to
how
put
are we going to
programming online.
If we get access to everything, suppose we got everything coming from, we're going to have we're going to need to have pattern recognizing capability of that which relates different aspects to everything. It's like library science or something. You have to put a grid on reality in order to get know how to draw, or just even to get the idea of if everybody's going to be contributing or something like that, where the things are that are really pattern recognizingly correct in terms of scientific principles or integrative thinking principles, or so, or guides to that, to what's available, because there's going to become so much. If you got all 6 billion people in the world contributing their thoughts and so forth, there's going to have to be a system for taking it into account in a pattern recognizing kind of way, isn't there?
But I think
like a library kind of science or something.
Capacity, and I think it's
to get integrated scientifically correct principles, first of all, about what we mean by reality and so forth, because there's so much spinning and selling and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
but
if we could make a distinction between content and we can possibly make a distinction between content and structure.
Okay.
So while if we were visualizing cable access community centers, while there may be a structure for creating the programming and uploading it, hopefully the content is extremely diverse and paints a picture, an oral picture and a visual picture of the place itself.
Right, you want the diversity to be encouraged,
which isn't a strip mall, but it's, so you want to set up structures that allow you to actually get diverse content posted. And I keep saying posted because I really believe that if we put it into an online environment, that voice, you know, the local voice will really have a fighting chance, and maybe we could actually counteract some of the, you know, just the fact that everybody in America is watching the same sitcom, and that really determines.
It used to be worse. When they first came out, I can remember watching test patterns on the television screen. Their television set was sitting there. There was nothing on it. There was no programming. Then there came a test pattern with an Indian head, I remember, one of the networks. Then finally came Kukla, Fran, and Olliers. I mean, everybody watched I Love Mama. It was very, very limited what there was, but now it's moving from being very scarce or limited or homogenized to it can be a really very, very wide variety of things that can be presented as variegated and as interesting as the whole human experience itself, not to mention all the creatures. Yeah, a qualitative transformation that might be coming. But the public access system, it seems to me, very important, particularly keeping it open to the fact that that's a way to encourage the people, rather than just the professionals, to be able to have a way to begin to wade into this system and get thinking about putting their own programs up and so forth. I heard you mention how everything can go individual, but there's still a role for some sort of a level of institutional support for programming that is not a business.
Right. So create a structure which allows for diverse
That's
content.
public access cable television now, and it's important to safeguard that, I think, don't you?
Well, it's being global and local at the same time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, go ahead, Johnny. Yeah.
It seems most important, while it's cable access to me is of an educational kind of institution. Once you acquire the knowledge, you don't necessarily have to. You can just move into an individual level. I think while there's people without any resources, without the resources, who don't have a laptop, going back to like in the future where I believe that people will just have their own computer, everybody in the world will have their own computer.
We have a long way to go to get to that on a world scale.
So I know, we do have a long way to go.
And there needs to be some institutional layers
the institution's
that make it
important to give people the opportunity for free.
Everything is so weighted toward those who are already wealthy and successful. 1/100th of 1%.
Yeah.
It's all weighted toward
them. Everybody in the world has to be able to know how to communicate their voice to every other person in the world.
And occur to them that what they have to say matters.
It's very important to know that.
That's a political, sociological thing that's very important, that
because
they do matter.
Because you
because
realize
they've been overlooked and
important.
hoodwinked and bamboozled and coerced throughout almost all of human history. And what we want to have is a thing where the whole of the human society can participate in a way where everybody matters and everybody feels a sense of participation in that.
And if we don't work
something
towards
we need if we're going to not destroy the whole thing, because I think if they're going on the old systems, they're going to blow the whole thing up.
If we don't work towards a system,
rather than realize the liberation of the whole human community as a community in a kind of liberating kind of, everybody can realize not only their full biography but also their full potential, which is limited, very, very limited now because we're stuck on institutions that are outdated as we come out of history.
This is like a question of morality. It's like, are we truly all equal as being humans, or are we not? If we're equal, then we need this institution. If we're all meant to be equal in like our existence, this institution needs to be here and it needs to be continued to be funded, and people need to support it across the board. But if we're not equal, if that's not a moral, if that's not what's it say in the Constitution? We hold these rights to be
self-evident.
Self-evident. If this is a self-evident truth if this is real, then this is something we have to all be concerned about and work towards. If it's not, then we can just give it away and say, you guys are going to be poor and stay poor, and that's fine.
That's the way it's been throughout almost all of human history.
And it's strange.
Always been a few people who run everything, and then the other people are wallowing around in the mud. Because there wasn't enough.
The resources, but
we're
getting
to
the
where
surplus.
there may be enough for everybody.
Well, there's enough food
and that's
for
a whole
everyone to eat.
No, not only enough food. There's enough understanding. There's enough of everything. We may be transcending scarcity as an ontological reality, but we've only done that within the last few years. We haven't been able to see the world that way and have it be correct in terms of what the reality is. It's being transformed by the technology. Transcending material scarcity for the whole system might be a real ontologic reality in terms of the current zeitgeist, and our institutions are all predicated that we live by, our laws, our states, our national interest, our individualization and all that. It could be just out of an institutional framework we've inherited out of history that's outdated. And we need a new understanding of that whole context of the whole operation of the evolution of universal, operating manual for spaceship Earth, Mr. Fuller said, or maybe an even understanding of the evolution of universal consciousness, that we're coming to a new liberated potential in the universe, which would be the living averse side to the thing that we're ready to be able to destroy ourselves now. It's a unique moment in the evolution of universal consciousness, perhaps.
A very fragile moment.
A very fragile, and public access is an important part of a means by which new ideas could be finding their way into the public consciousness that might make a difference. And it'll be coming from there more than from your leadership element, I would wager.
I agree, because these are unrestrained ideas. These are free ideas, and those are that's where the beauty is. That's where things come, and that's the truth.
Anyway, these are all some thoughts, and one of the problems is we've been ruminating and talking and talking and learning and everything, but you know what? We've run out of time. We've run out of time on this program. I'm really sorry. We got talking, and we mentioned the talk about public access, talk about ACAP. It'd be good to get some organization between the producers and for some suggestions to the people that are involved in the public access movement, how we can take advantage of the things that are coming and how we can help build a structure. But also to get it, because there's lots of possibilities, some of the things you people are seeing in terms of what the cyber worlds are offering now. So thank you a lot for coming in and bringing that.
Let's call a meeting.
Let's call a meeting and let's talk about
public access online for real. Make the first library, the first modern library.
Okay, that's the thing. You really are geared on that. I think the fact we got the cable connection and we got that connection for a lot of people to have access to communicating broadly and some of the streaming, that's there. But all those things, we want to integrate the two anyway.
We got to have a meeting with Dan Coughlin and see what's going on.
Well, Dan's great.
I imagine they got some good ideas.
And most of the people that are involved in public access are good. It's a good group, a good layer, an institutional layer, sort of like an education. I'm interested in it as an educational thing. It's like a university.
It's true.
The
I've learned a lot here.
and all the possibilities that are there. You can learn an awful lot, and you can get the best minds we could be putting up and putting it out there as a university of the sky or something like that. So thanks a lot, Jon Kowalski and Kirsten Stoffa. Thanks for coming in, putting up with my talk and everything. I certainly liked your ideas, and we invite you to tune in. We'll be coming back again tomorrow on Conversations. Thanks a lot, and we'll have to just keep continuing this off camera, but thanks a lot for bringing up some of the ideas and showing that thing.
I got Server. Server is an application program that accepts connections in order to service requests by sending back responses.
Oh, okay, fine. Well, we're off the air, so we can stop talking. We're off the air.
Why?
Okay. Okay, thanks. Well, that's I don't know. We'll put it